I was listening to a strange electronic melody mixed with static noise, spreading through the vast universe. It passed by many planets, making the once clear tune distorted by cosmic radiation. It was like someone rudely playing loud music until it entered our solar system and was received by Earth. The Dongxia Space Agency was the first to pick up the signal. After initial shock and confusion, they realized it wasn't something they could handle alone. It could affect all of humanity, so they had to report it. Soon, representatives from various countries, still groggy, joined a video conference. A signal from space was new and surprising, especially one singing a distorted version of "The East is Red." The Dongxia representative looked bewildered, not understanding what was happening. The North American representative, speaking with a hint of sarcasm, questioned why the signal wasn't playing in other words, implying jealousy over Dongxia's connection with extraterrestrial life. Despite doubts and suspicions, everyone realized the meeting's importance. The signal hinted at a more advanced civilization in the universe, and the meeting's outcome could determine humanity's future. 3 years ago, I, Wang Wei, was an ordinary person on Earth. After a breakup and a night of heavy drinking, I woke up on this alien planet. I was surrounded by strange, giant plants and terrifying alien creatures. While escaping from a monster, I found a damaged alien spaceship. Inside, I gained access to alien technology and found the mechanical core of Da Vinci, a robot. Over the past 3 years, I've tried to contact Earth, hoping they'd rescue me. We've upgraded our communication device 9 times, but there's still no response. Feeling frustrated and longing for home, I watched a colorful forest and a massive purple mushroom releasing spores, signaling the start of the powder season. During this time, white flying insects were attracted to the spores, unaware of predators waiting to catch them. A pink monkey with 4 arms watched curiously as Da Vinci and I stood out, not joining the hunt. I sighed, telling Da Vinci we should leave before the big predators arrived. This planet was dangerous, and we could be eaten or dismantled at any moment. I desperately wanted to go home and at least connect with Earth for some sense of security. This is humanity's chance to advance our technology and possibly leave Earth. Back on Earth, a video conference was ongoing. The European and American representatives were passionately speaking, showing their ambition and jealousy. Their speech was convincing, and many attendees started imagining their countries with advanced alien technology. They pointed out that the aliens' technology was clearly superior, but instead of invading Earth, they chose to communicate peacefully. This showed their goodwill. Perhaps they were here to help Earth's technology improve. But not everyone was convinced. Someone suggested thinking from the aliens' perspective. If they had such advanced technology, how would they treat weaker civilizations? This brought a dose of reality to the discussion, reminding everyone of past invasions on Earth. In the end, the Russian representative called for a vote among the 195 sovereign states present. The vote resulted in 80 abstentions, 50 against, and 65 in favor of contacting the alien civilization. However, the decision was to remain silent and not respond to the signal. Meanwhile, on the alien planet where I was stranded, it was dangerous during the powder season, with curious animals chewing on everything, including my signal towers. Even Da Vinci, my robot companion, couldn't always stop them. Inside our base, Da Vinci and I were staring out the window. I casually mentioned that if we couldn't contact Earth soon, I might starve to death. This shocked Da Vinci. I explained that our food supply was almost gone, and the local plants were mostly toxic to humans. We had found a non-toxic plant, but it was difficult to grow. With only a month's worth of food left, the plants in the field still hadn't sprouted. This is why I was desperate to contact Earth, hoping to get help from expert botanists. Despite the failure to grow the plants, I tried to stay hopeful. As the sun set, I felt a deep longing for home, for the food, the social interactions, and the people I cared about. I told Da Vinci we should get some sleep and check the plants again tomorrow. Time was running out, and even during the dangerous powder season, we had to take risks. We had to rely on ourselves since we couldn't contact Earth. It was the powder season, one of the most dangerous times of the year. Giant mushrooms would release spores, and the animals would go into a feeding and breeding frenzy, like a big food chain reaction. The spores provided plenty of energy, triggering mating and breeding among the animals, making them more aggressive. The base door opened with a hiss. Da Vinci and I, fully geared up, sneaked out, scanning the area to make sure it was safe. Da Vinci gave me an OK sign, and I signaled to move forward. We were careful not to get attacked by wild animals, but I knew the base would soon be unsafe due to the powder season, so we had to hurry. We headed to the forest where I saw the giant mushroom yesterday. It was the core area of the powder season, filled with powerful predators. Despite Da Vinci's reluctance, I dragged him along. The rare, non-toxic alien potatoes we needed grew only around the giant mushrooms. These potatoes were unique because they were non-toxic, making them valuable on this dangerous planet. If we could successfully grow them, we wouldn't have to worry about food anymore. As we ventured deeper, I felt strangely euphoric, laughing and feeling lightheaded. Suddenly, Da Vinci slapped me, snapping me out of the daze. I realized I had been affected by some hallucinogen, despite our precautions. My protective gear was intact, so it wasn't airborne. Feeling nervous, we continued into the shadowy forest. The light from bioluminescent stones and plants was our only guide. We were now in the mushroom territory, about 3 kilometers from our target. Suddenly, I heard the rustling of leaves, which was odd since the large mushroom canopy blocked the sun, and only small luminescent plants should be growing. The rustling got louder and I felt a chill. I shouted, "Da Vinci, lights on!" He activated his high beam light, illuminating the area. To our horror, we saw large trees moving, their roots like tentacles, and a huge eye on the trunk glaring at us. It was a walking tree. In the mushroom forest, I heard rustling noises. I gripped my pulse lightsaber tightly, feeling both cautious and puzzled as I looked at the strange tree in front of me. The initial tension was gone because the tree seemed more scared than I was. The sudden bright light had frightened the tree, causing it to shed a lot of leaves. It trembled as if it was afraid I'd cut it down with my lightsaber. Its large eye blinked rapidly, unable to close due to fear. Why does it seem so nervous? I wondered aloud. Da Vinci couldn't answer, and the tree seemed helpless too. It just looked at us with a pitiful expression, shaking off more leaves. The tree's strange reaction made me think it was different from the usual wild beasts. I asked, "Can you understand me?" The tree blinked its big eye furiously, indicating it could understand but couldn't speak. I had met many local creatures over the past 3 years, but they were mostly unintelligent and difficult to communicate with. This tree, however, seemed smart and scared. I asked why it was following us, but it just trembled and used its branches to gesture, trying to communicate. Finally, the tree carefully presented a purple, moist spore to us, showing a clear desire to give it as an offering. It reminded me of the spore season when the mushrooms released spores, which were food for the local creatures but deadly for me. "Do you want this?" I asked, realizing the tree wanted the spores. For the local creatures, spores were valuable food. Understanding its intention, I put away my lightsaber and politely refused the spore. The tree quickly hid the spore, but didn't leave. It stayed, looking at us expectantly. This intelligent being wanted to trade. It wanted spores in exchange for something. After some trial and error, I figured out the tree could help us navigate the mushroom forest. Usually, Da Vinci and I would have to fight our way through, especially during the powder season when animals were more aggressive. With the tree's help, we could avoid dangerous areas and use its hypnotic abilities to evade fights. In return, I would help the tree collect spores, a simple task for me but difficult for the tree. It was slow and vulnerable, making it hard to gather spores safely. We agreed to the deal. I shook the tree's branch like a handshake and told Da Vinci to turn off his bright light, which had been blinding the tree. With our new ally, we continued toward the giant mushrooms. The tree's knowledge of the area was invaluable. We avoided major troubles and only encountered minor threats. Soon, we reached the core of the forest, where the giant mushroom roots were. There, near the roots, I saw the alien potatoes I had been searching for, growing healthily. Several scarred but powerful creatures guarded the area, each claiming a section of the territory. "Any news today?" I asked as I peeked into the Dongsha Space Agency's monitoring office. I got a shrug in response. Since the alien signal appeared, it had become a routine for me to ask this question first thing every day. And I wasn't the only one. Even though Dongxia voted against responding to the signal, the agency was buzzing with excitement. Papers about alien civilizations were being written rapidly and discussions were heated. Despite the prohibition on contacting the aliens, the interest remained high. My hope faded as I prepared to leave when a colleague called out, "The director wants to see you." I entered the meeting room where everyone was already assembled. The director, an older man with a bald head, started the meeting, focusing on the alien signal. "We understand the signal's significance," he said. "But remember, we are strictly forbidden from responding to it. This concerns all of humanity's safety." He softened his tone, adding that academic discussions were allowed as long as the rule was followed. The meeting ended quickly, since it was the same message we had heard multiple times. As I left, the director asked if there was any news, receiving the same shrug in return. It's been 5 days since we first received the signal, and nothing new has come through, I said. We sighed, knowing we couldn't respond but wishing the aliens would send another signal. Meanwhile, on the alien planet, Da Vinci's song had finally reached Earth after 5 days, showing the ninth-generation communication device's effectiveness. Previous versions couldn't transmit this far. Upgrading a few more generations might allow real-time communication with Earth, but I didn't know this. I was busy riding on a tree branch, cautiously observing the area ahead. We had reached the core of the Powder Season's battle zone, where strong creatures guarded the area, making it dangerous. The tree I was on, which I called Tree Guy, was too scared to approach, just watching from a distance. I muttered, "We're late," noting that the strongest creatures had already claimed their territories. Had we arrived earlier, we could have taken advantage of the chaos to gather what we needed. "Not a big deal," I said, patting Da Vinci's head. Tree Guy looked confused, not understanding my confidence. I explained that we just needed to work together. Our goal was simple: gather some alien potatoes for analysis and help Tree Guy get some spores. Tree Guy, though skeptical, was persuaded by the promise of spores. With a rustling sound, he agreed. I patted Da Vinci, signaling that we had a plan. In the core area, a pink monkey with 6 arms was licking its wounds. Suddenly, noise from the forest startled it. Pink monkeys with 4 arms screamed as Tree Guy, now wielding a lightsaber, charged forward. "Tree Guy says he's going to defeat you all!" I shouted as we moved into action. Tree Guy failed because he lacked effective attack methods. I failed because I couldn't handle so many strong beasts at once. My goal was the unwanted alien potatoes, and Tree Guy's goal was the spores on the ground. We had tried collecting them many times, but always failed. Luckily, Tree Guy had strength, and I had some advanced technology. We teamed up to try again and finally succeed. According to our plan, Tree Guy would distract the beasts, while Da Vinci and I would sneak into the core area to grab the spores and potatoes. Tree Guy, wielding a fully powered pulse lightsaber, moved forward, supported by his thick roots like an on-land octopus. The sight was impressive, although he couldn't roar like a true monster. Da Vinci and I stayed hidden, waiting for Tree Guy to engage the beasts before sneaking towards our targets. "How many spores do we need?" Da Vinci asked. "As many as possible, but stay safe," I replied. So far, everything was going according to plan. Tree Guy, being the biggest and toughest, took the front line, leaving me to collect the alien potatoes and Da Vinci to gather spores. No one would bother with us while Tree Guy was fighting. We just needed to grab what we needed and leave quickly. With Tree Guy's distraction, I successfully reached the core area and found the alien potatoes, noticing new purple markings on their leaves. This confirmed my theory that the powder season was crucial for their growth. I carefully dug up a few potatoes and turned to call Da Vinci, only to be surprised by the scene. Tree Guy was a beast with the lightsaber, fighting ferociously and even disarming a pink gorilla of one of its 6 arms. Da Vinci, though focused on collecting spores, was also fascinated by Tree Guy's battle prowess. Tree Guy's actions caused chaos in the core area, making it easier for us to collect what we needed. However, Da Vinci became a target for cloud insects, which swarmed him for the spores. "Tree Guy, don't get carried away!" I shouted. "The lightsaber won't last long at full power. Run while you can!" Realizing the urgency, Tree Guy turned and fled, knowing the beasts wouldn't stop until he was gone. We all ran, pursued by different threats. Tree Guy chased by the beasts, and Da Vinci and I by the persistent cloud insects. Fortunately, Da Vinci's metal body was tough, but we needed to get to safety. Once we reached the sunlight, the cloud insects hesitated, but some continued to chase us. "Da Vinci, do it!" I ordered, and Da Vinci activated a high-frequency sound wave that finally drove the insects away. Finally, the world was quiet again. After dealing with the annoying cloud insects, Da Vinci and I waited in boredom. We had arranged a meeting spot with Tree Guy, but I wasn't sure if he understood. "Hey, Wong Wei, I can't move," Da Vinci said. I turned to see him standing on one leg, covered in solidified spore goo. It had transformed from sticky purple liquid into crystal-like purple structures, reflecting sunlight beautifully. I joked, "If Yu Qian saw this, he'd definitely want to keep you as an amber robot." Da Vinci didn't get the joke, just blinked his screen eyes in confusion. I tried to break the crystals, but couldn't make a dent. I couldn't use my pulse lightsaber since Tree Guy had it, and shooting Da Vinci wasn't an option. Just then, I heard the familiar rustling sound. Tree Guy appeared, looking worse for wear. Most of his leaves were gone, several branches broken, and a deep claw marks on his trunk. Despite his condition, he looked genuinely happy to see us safe. Tree Guy carefully returned the lightsaber. Even though he looked like he had been through a battle, the lightsaber was intact. I decided to give him the lightsaber as a gift, seeing how much he liked it. Tree Guy's big eye filled with joy, and we shared a moment of mutual respect and friendship. Da Vinci's plight reminded me of our situation. I asked Tree Guy to help, and with his strength, he cracked the crystal, freeing Da Vinci. Da Vinci seemed a bit upset, but quickly focused on the task. We divided the loot as planned. I took the alien potatoes, and Tree Guy took the spores. He was so moved by the gesture that he insisted on sharing, but I reassured him that he could keep them all. After saying our goodbyes, I headed back to the base, eager to examine the alien potatoes. Back at the base, I quickly changed out of my gear and rushed to the lab. Our base was a repurposed alien spaceship where I acted as the de facto captain. I noticed the potatoes had purple streaks, unlike any I had seen before. This confirmed my suspicion that the powder season was crucial for their growth. I set the potatoes and some nearby soil samples in the scanner, hoping this time we'd succeed. Da Vinci, standing nearby, asked, "Will it work this time?" "Probably," I replied. "So you won't die if it works?" "Yeah, I won't." Da Vinci didn't fully grasp the concept of death, but knew he didn't want to be alone again. He sincerely wished for our success, saying, "It will work this time. You won't starve." I smiled and reassured him. "Deal." The scan results came back quickly. I stared at the data, surprised. The key to making the alien potatoes grow was a single factor: feces. Not just any feces, but those from alien creatures that had eaten the mushroom spores and then digested them. These alien potatoes were like cicadas on Earth, staying dormant until the powder season. During this season, the mushroom spores were eaten by creatures and then excreted as nutrient-rich feces. This excrement provided the essential nutrients that ended the potatoes' dormancy, allowing them to grow. No wonder fertilizing them didn't work, I muttered, realizing that without the mushroom spores and the feces, the potatoes wouldn't grow. This problem had a simple solution: get some feces. Tree Guy could help with that. Deep in the mushroom forest, Tree Guy, battered and bruised, arrived at a clearing filled with various creatures. They started chattering, concerned about his injuries. Despite their different shapes, they spoke the same complex language, one I couldn't understand. Tree Guy, unable to speak, communicated by releasing fine dust from his body. The other creatures willingly inhaled the dust, establishing a mental connection with Tree Guy. Tree Guy's deep voice resonated in their minds. This was how he communicated. When he first met me, he tried this, but my air filter system blocked the dust, leading to miscommunication and my mistaken belief that he was trying to hypnotize me. Tree Guy shared his experience with the demon, me, and the steel servant, Da Vinci. The other creatures were initially skeptical, recalling stories of my supposed brutality. They talked about how I had defeated a strong creature from the Terran system without mercy, further fueling their fear. Tree Guy tried to convince them of my kindness, but they were too frightened by the tales of my past actions to believe him. They saw me as a powerful threat, not realizing that I saw them as wild animals, not intelligent beings. Meanwhile, unaware of the drama unfolding, I was back at the base. I didn't know other civilizations existed on this planet. To me, the presence of alien spaceships implied advanced technology, but these creatures seemed primitive. I sighed, resting my chin on my hand and looked out the window. Da Vinci, do you think there really are aliens out there? I asked, reflecting on our strange situation. Da Vinci, mimicking my posture, simply blinked his screen eyes, adding to the sense of shared curiosity and wonder. Sol la retilde. Duodo la retilde. At the Dongxia Space Agency, the distorted electronic music played again in the meeting room. After disappearing for 2 weeks, the mysterious alien signal had returned. Everyone has noticed, right? The director frowned and continued. This signal is much clearer than the first one. He signaled for the staff to switch the audio, showing the difference between the two signals on the screen. The first signal was almost drowned out by noise, while the second was much clearer, with only a faint hiss and some off-key notes. This clarity suggested the alien was closer to Earth. The director explained that the clearer signal likely meant the aliens were getting nearer, which wasn't a friendly sign. He concluded that their intentions might not be peaceful, as they were approaching Earth without permission. The room fell silent as everyone grasped the seriousness of the situation. Even those initially optimistic about the aliens had to reconsider. The director's analysis was logical and convincing. "Comrades," the director said, looking out at the gathering storm clouds, "war is coming." The national machinery geared up in response to the signal. Satellites were launched, and factories increased production to prepare for a possible alien invasion. Meanwhile, people felt the tense atmosphere, even though they didn't know what was happening. The sky darkened and thunder rumbled, signaling an impending storm. Outside the mushroom forest, I stood in my orange suit, staring at the bag in front of me. Da Vinci, with his arm transformed into a pulse cannon, kept watch. "Tree guy, you've worked hard," I said, appreciating the full bag. The previous day, after discovering the secret to growing alien potatoes, I had Da Vinci give Tree Guy the bag to collect feces. By morning, the bag was full, showing Tree Guy's dedication. Tree Guy stood there, a bit confused by my thanks. He had worked all night, avoiding the core area where he had angered some creatures, to gather the feces. Despite his exhaustion, he didn't see his effort as a big deal compared to the gifts he received from us. After chatting with Tree Guy, I took the bag and headed back to the base with Da Vinci. The alien potatoes needed fertilizing as soon as possible. "Why do I have to carry this?" Da Vinci asked, noticing my distaste for the smell. "It's a sign of trust," I explained, patting his shoulder. "This bag is vital for the potatoes to grow. Without it, I'd starve. So I'm trusting you with my life." Da Vinci, though a robot, seemed to understand the importance of his task. Manure. Humans have used it for ages, and it remains crucial as fertilizer even today. Manure is rich in nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, and potassium, which help crops grow well. This theory works on other planets too. I had tried using manure before, but it failed because it wasn't the powder season. Back at the base, I wrinkled my nose at the full bag of alien manure. The smell was just as bad as Earth manure. With Tree Guy's help, I had the fertilizer needed for the alien potatoes. I covered the potatoes with some manure to end their dormancy and start their growth. The rest of the manure was mixed with soil and water in a metal container, following Earth's method for composting. Composting involves letting the manure ferment and heat up, killing any pests and weed seeds. This makes the fertilizer more effective and safer for the plants. The process also ensures that nutrients are fully available to the plants. As a country with a long history of agriculture, Dongsha has a cultural attachment to farming. That's why I set up a small farm as soon as I settled on this planet. It felt unsettling not to grow crops, much like how Americans would feel without hunting. Mixing the compost was tough, especially for me. Da Vinci, being a robot, didn't understand my discomfort and just kept stirring. Finally, the compost was prepared, needing a week to ferment instead of the usual 2 due to time constraints. 7 days later, Da Vinci opened the compost container. From a distance, I imagined a demon escaping from it. Despite being far away, the scene made me hold my breath. Da Vinci, however, calmly spread the compost on the potatoes. Da Vinci, feeling a sense of mission, took the task seriously. His work was a symbol of trust, as this manure was crucial for my survival. Once done, I kept some distance from him due to the lingering smell. During the composting week, I focused on solving the communication issue with Earth. The 9th-generation communication device's signal strength was sufficient, but had failed. I suspected the issue might be signal stability, affected by cosmic radiation. Da Vinci, often lost in thought, seemed to be evolving from an obedient AI to a true intelligent being. His suggestion about signal stability was a breakthrough. If the signal lacked stability, it would become distorted by the time it reached Earth. I realized Da Vinci was growing and evolving, and I felt proud. I patted his head and said, "Da Vinci, you're a genius." "These potatoes look so beautiful," I said. "They're so sexy. Da Vinci, just look at their lovely green and purple colors." Da Vinci glanced at the potatoes in our base garden, then back at me and said seriously, "Wang Wei, you look like a pervert right now." Our efforts proved that human knowledge and experience work well even on alien planets. The alien potatoes had entered their growth phase after fertilizing, sprouting lush green leaves quickly. Thanks to composting, the nutrients in the fertilizer were fully utilized, making the potatoes grow even faster and healthier than their wild counterparts. I confirmed this through detailed data comparison. In just 2 weeks, the potatoes in our base grew as much as wild ones did in 2 months. Unlike Earth plants, which can suffer from over-fertilization, these alien potatoes absorbed all the nutrients without any issues. I decided not to increase the fertilizer any further, understanding the importance of balance. Plus, I was worried about what I'd end up eating after such intensive fertilization. Taking a drag from my homemade cigarette, I felt a sense of relief. The fear of death had been a heavy burden, even after solving the potato problem. The uncertainty of whether the potatoes would mature before my food ran out still haunted me. I had carried these worries alone, not wanting to burden Da Vinci, who wouldn't fully understand anyway. Despite the loneliness and danger, I fought to survive on this alien planet for 3 years. My optimism had kept me sane, preventing the isolation from driving me mad. Humans are social creatures, and being alone in the vast universe was hard. I dreamed of going home, and that hope sustained me through countless lonely nights. Life is beautiful, isn't it, Da Vinci? I said, watching the smoke drift away. Are you sick? Da Vinci asked, touching my forehead with his temperature-sensing hand. This inability to understand my feelings highlighted my isolation. Idiot, I laughed, then got up and brushed the dirt off. Let's go install the new communication device. Aki. The 10th generation communication device had been upgraded yesterday. Based on Da Vinci's suggestion, we improved the signal stability on top of the 9th generation. This was likely the final version, given my current technological limits. I believed it was now strong enough to reach Earth. Excitedly, we climbed to the nearest hilltop. The old signal tower was still intact, not chewed by curious creatures. Grateful, I hoped this communication attempt would finally connect with Earth. Da Vinci climbed the tower to install the new antenna, while I replaced the core module at the base. With the station rebooted, the 10th generation device was active. Hello? Is anyone there? I called out, my voice shaky with anticipation. My message would travel across the universe to Earth. I hoped my family or friends would recognize my voice, but realized they might have already held my funeral after 3 years of silence. As excitement faded, I felt sadness. Even if I could contact Earth, returning might never be possible. I wasn't sure if letting them know I was alive was a good idea. Staring at the microphone, I wondered if giving them hope was worth it. Hello, is anyone there? A deep, distorted voice speaking awkward. Chinese crackled through the speakers, sounding like a demon whispering. The noise made everyone who heard it shiver. The aliens have learned human language, someone said. Is this a provocation? In the second meeting, the new alien signal played. This time, along with the off-key "The East is Red," there was also awkward Chinese. It didn't sound like a greeting, but more like a challenge. Everyone, I believe the public needs to know about this, the Dongxia representative said. The preparations for global defense are nearly complete, and informing the public will help us finalize our plans. He proposed a global referendum, letting humanity decide its fate. The room fell silent before agreeing. They understood that facing the greatest crisis in human history, the decision should be made by everyone. Chen Tianxiang walked home, exhausted from work. All he wanted was to lie down and sleep. He bought a coffee to stay awake, feeling the strain of modern life. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. Annoyed, he worried it was another call for overtime. Reluctantly, he checked his phone, but it wasn't a work call. His screen displayed a strange interface, and an eerie audio began to play. Damn, my new phone, he thought, fearing it was a virus. Looking around, he saw everyone else had stopped and was staring at their phones too. A familiar face from the news appeared on his screen, explaining the audio and current situation. Aliens? A global referendum? People were confused and skeptical, some thinking it was a prank, others believing it was real. Official accounts confirmed the authenticity of the event, sparking widespread discussion. Chen Tianxiang, like many others, lay in bed pondering the news. So, it's the end of the world? No more work, then. He drifted off to sleep, comforted by the thought. For the next 3 days, the world buzzed with talk of aliens. The surreal feeling faded as officials confirmed the reality. Today was the day of the global referendum. Everyone could vote on whether to respond to the alien signal. The vote lasted all day, and the final decision was clear. Do not respond. You're unseen. Why do you look sad, Wang Wei? Da Vinci asked as he climbed down from the signal tower, sensing my disappointment. It's nothing, just a bit homesick, I said, waving it off. The signal was sent, and now we had to wait for a reply. It would take time for the signal to travel across the universe to Earth. We usually waited a week before sending another. Do you think it will work this time? I asked. I don't know, Da Vinci replied honestly. He never lied or offered false comfort. The universe was unpredictable, and our signal could be distorted by cosmic radiation, turning a clear message into gibberish. While we awaited a response from Earth, the people there were preparing for a potential alien invasion, unaware of our situation.